still I saw everything that I know. Says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is. This is who I am. This is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two short hands. Giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes.
Amen.
Hey, Dave, one of these days, it would be nice if you could get the audio hooked up to Facebook so those Facebook people could enjoy.
I'm getting there. We're going to move over to a laptop-based production live.
Okay.
And then when I leave the show, I'm done for the weekend because I don't have all this post-production that takes me till midnight.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the
I'm
way.
working on it. I just reformatted my audiovisual computer, and now I've got to load all the software back on. I didn't want to bring that down here and leave it here with all my old tax records for Eddie and his curious mind to go through.
Oh,
my
yeah.
password.
Yeah. I'm going to be like Eric Swalwell here in check.
I wanted to be able to just have a clean computer so it's running at optimal speed and we wouldn't have buffering issues and stuff. So
hey, if you had let me know, seriously, I'll just buy you a computer.
Now,
the show will buy you a computer.
You know, it's a hit and miss because you want to do it on a laptop, but there's a lot of video cards don't work, and this video card actually does. And I'd rather use what I know works, at least to get us started.
Okay.
And then we'll go beyond that. And you got a computer sitting here, too, we could use,
Yeah, down on the floor.
I wouldn't mind giving that a try.
Yeah, we totally clean that sucker off. Yeah, because we haven't used that in years.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, getting back to mega billionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I've got a couple of things following along our theme. RFK Jr., he says mega billionaires are using climate change to usher in totalitarian controls. Mm-hmm. Man, I'll tell you what, he's making it really tough. Mm-hmm. I wish people would listen. It's interesting, but I don't know if you know this or remember, but Donald Trump and John JFK Jr.
Yeah.
were very, very close.
Sure they were.
They were very close friends.
Yeah.
And so it would be interesting if Bobby Jr. and Donald, could you imagine the two of them together on a ticket?
Yeah. And by the way, just because we have new generations of listeners, John refers to John F. Kennedy Jr., who was born while his father was president and used to, as a toddler, crawl under the Resolute desk and play at his father's feet.
Yes,
that would be Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s cousin.
Right.
Their dads were brothers.
Right, their dads were brothers.
I just wanted to make sure everybody's up to speed.
Yeah. Robert F. Kennedy was the attorney general under his brother, John.
And speaking of, because they are a wealthy family. Their grandfather, Joe, was very wealthy.
Yeah.
And, in fact, I remember the story that he set up a trust fund for each of his kids that as soon as they became 21, they were a multimillionaire. And asked about that, Joe said, I wanted my kids to, at age 21, be able to tell me to go to hell. And part of that is, and Eddie, you and I as parents, we know this. Once your kids are gone, your involvement in their life is not compulsory on their part.
No.
It's them inviting. As George Bush 41 said when asked, what's your greatest achievement? By journalists. And he paused. He says, my kids still come home to visit. And you and I both know how important at our age our kids are. Mm-hmm. And
not very. That's a joke. That's
so much for hockey tickets.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Panthers tied up the series with the Boston Bruins.
They came back
3-3.
Wow. What were they down?
It was 3-1.
Holy smokes.
They won 2 in Boston and came back and won the third one last night.
So they got one more game?
One more.
Takes it
in
all.
Boston. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Boston don't play nice all the time.
No, they're mean. Yeah. So we'll see. They didn't play that. Yeah. They put one guy out for the season. One of the Panthers can't play anymore because he's injured that bad.
Yeah.
But hey, to get back to this, so RFK says climate issues and pollution issues are being exploited. Mm-hmm. You know, the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates and all of those big, mega billionaires. It's funny how he talks.
Yeah.
It's like a Valley Girl almost, or like Eddie, Mm-hmm. But mega billionaires, the same way that COVID was exploited to use it as an excuse to clamp down top-down totalitarian controls on society, Kennedy told talk show host Kim Iverson. Man, I mean, you would think that's
he's so far left, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, that is crazy. I mean, you would never think that this coming from a Democrat.
Yeah, but this guy, back when you were a freshman in college, I know you identified more as a Democrat.
Oh, yeah,
and
totally.
I, as a kid, did too. And it was about this.
I was way left of the Democrats back then, even.
Yeah, but it was about this. It was about, the us versus them, the power and control.
Yeah, it was.
I think about when Hillary ran in 2008 and then in 2016, she would say one thing on the campaign speech, but then she got with the Wall Street donors and she's saying it completely opposite.
Oh, yeah, sure. They're hypocrites.
And They knew exactly. They got it and they still funded her because they knew that she knew where her butter was, her bread was buttered.
Oh, they're all hypocrites.
Yeah.
The World Economic Forum took place in January with many world leaders and top business executives arriving in Davos, Switzerland for panel discussions and speeches. Speakers at Davos have touted cities where people didn't need cars, claimed the world did not need growth or development, called for censorship, and demanded commitments from government and businesses to achieve net zero carbon emissions. Here's what Kennedy said. They've given climate chaos a bad name. Because people now see that it's just another crisis that's being used to strip mine the wealth of the poor and to enrich the billionaires. And I, for 40 years, have had the same policy on climate and engineering. You can go check my speeches from the 80s, and I've said the most important solution for environmental issues is not top-down control. It's free market capitalism.
Whoa! Whoa, now he's got my attention.
Yeah. Kennedy filed paperwork with the FCC to launch... the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, to launch his bid for a Democratic Party nomination for president in 2024. What we have in this country now is not free market capitalism. It's corporate crony capitalism. It's capitalist. It's cushy kind of socialism for the rich and a brutal, barbaric, merciless capitalism for the poor, Kennedy said. Wow. Go, Bobby.
Oh, thank God. I think this man's finding his voice. And speaking of that, he recently had another surgery, and his voice is stronger now.
Yeah, it is.
Now,
stronger.
it's not nearly what it was.
No,
and we hope it returns to.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you're my worst political enemy.
The truth is truth.
And it's ungodly to wish ill health on anyone.
No, you're right.
I think... God bless you, Bobby. I what can I say?
Yeah, I mean,
he's saying things that are true.
It is very true. I mean, it's funny because I think I mentioned it before. My daughter is good friends with him.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I first heard, I said, "What? I thought I raised you better than that." No, and then all of a sudden I started seeing him and listening. I said, "Wait a minute, this guy," and where they made contact is through, they're both anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
In fact, vaccination is what caused him to lose his voice.
His own doctors are convinced of it.
Right. That's what gave him his problem.
Yeah, but the guy who gave me this shirt for Christmas is my son, a Democrat. And he got before Bobby announced he was all Marianne Williamson. He's
Oh,
more of a
really?
chaos.
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
troublemaker, okay?
Yeah. He's a throwback.
But anyway, I'm trying to convince him, okay, if you're going to go that route, you got to give Bobby a listen. You just have to. So we'll see what he does.
I think more and more people will if you're truly a liberal, a true liberal. You don't want to be a Republican crony capitalist or a Democrat crony capitalist. Then you've got to give him a listen.
Right.
And I say that now. I'm still a Trump guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
The main reason is because he and that party will have more clout with the Congress and everything. Mm-hmm. But second would be my second choice. So
at this point, he's definitely in the running.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what would be really interesting if he would end up running with Trump. Could you imagine Trump and him as his vice president?
You know what?
That would be wow.
See, I consider Bobby much in the vein of Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. They come out of the same. If Trump all of a sudden could somehow partner with Tulsi and Bobby and all of the disenfranchised Democrats, all of those. What's the name? Not Julian. What's the guy who lives in South America? He was driven from the country. Tucker used to have him all the time. He's a writer, a political writer. Oh my!
Greenwald?
Yeah, Glenn Greenwald. Yeah, people like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, true liberals. They're not for the democratic machine, all the BS that the Democrats.
Yeah, the old 70s liberal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The true, pure liberal.
Civil liberties.
We don't want big government. We can't stand what's happening to, anti-war, anti-this, right. Those guys, exactly. And if Trump could somehow garner that wing of the Democrat Party and pull them all away from the Democrats, and then have the Republicans and the Democrats that have already fled to become Republicans and create a new and make it. I mean, essentially a new party. If you could create a new party that can't stand the rhinos any longer, the what do they call them? The Lincoln
Republicans?
Lincoln Republic. No, there's a
log cabin.
No, not log cabin. It's Lincoln something with. Anyway, I forget it. It's taking too much time. But anyway, you know what I mean. The basically the sabotagists within the Republican or the left leaning rhinos.
Yeah,
those guys. And if Trump can unite them with the radical
What's his
Democrats.
name? Schmidt, the guy who had been on McCain's campaign. He's really speaking anti-conservatism. Here's where I really think we're going on this.
Okay.
They're going to, is in the Democrat Party, they're stopping at nothing. Fact is, they have just told Iowa, you're gone. They're telling New Hampshire, we don't care about you either. Because Joe's doing well in South Carolina, we're going to make that one first. And they're going to shut up Bobby as much as possible.
Yeah, none of the big three
I want to see,
networks will give him the time of day.
I'm even going to use a term, a branded term. You heard it here first. The Klexit, civil liberties exit from the Democrat Party. Those like Bobby, Tulsi, and others who are still believe in individual liberties. I think build your own coalition, speak with a voice. And I think Tulsi, as much as I'm glad to see her officially leaving Democrat, she still has great influence within a certain segment there. Yeah. I'd really like to see that bunch grow and start their own speaking tour. I wouldn't want Bobby to officially withdraw from anything.
Right.
Still put his name out there. But you've got to build on this segment and get it to grow. And to show how messed up the
the establishment Democrat Party is, how anti-American it truly is. Yeah.
Right. Just like we saw the Blexit 4 years ago, the black exit from the plantation.
There already is. Are you familiar with Walk Away?
Yes.
Yeah. Brandon Straka.
Right.
Started that.
Right.
Who is a gay, he is a gay Republican.
You're seeing
but he
a lot
was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He left and
as long as the Republican Party and our nominee is enough committed to, you know what, how you live your life, you shut the doors, what goes on in your house is not my business. Or as Thomas Jefferson said, what difference does it make to me if my neighbor believes in one God or 20 gods? It neither breaks my leg nor picks my pocket. As long as the Republican Party can be committed to not running your life on a spiritual level, then I think we can find a greater majority and grab the mainstream of.
Yeah, let me. I think this is a good thing to interject right at this point, okay? Mm-hmm. Because see, we will have some people watching us who might take issue with that.
Yeah.
Okay, but you see, it's not our job to make them believe.
Yes,
that's the Holy Spirit. Our job is to tell them. It's always been our job. Okay, if they're not believing, it's because we're not telling them and we're not living it before them. It's the Holy Spirit that convicts. Okay, it's not us that convicts. It's the Holy Spirit. And this is one of the problems that we as believers, I believe, have left that. I don't believe we have the faith. Too many of us don't have the faith anymore that God, through his Holy Spirit, can still convict the lost. Right. He can convict of unrighteousness. That's what the scripture says, that he convicts of unrighteousness. We think it's supposed to be us that convicts of unrighteousness, so we're beating them over the head all the time. We need to preach. We need to speak the truth, but we got to leave it there.
Eddie, you are so on it because, again, if you don't trust the Holy Spirit to convict a person of their ways and correcting it, then you turn to government to impose your views. You become a statist. Just like we're opposing the left become mandating things.
They're mandating the opposite.
Right, because look what's happening in Canada and Europe, where even a preacher on Sunday morning can get arrested and put in jail for speaking out against sin as the script, just reading a scripture.
Yeah.
Because it's sin. And here's the thing. John Ashcroft, good Assemblies of God, man. His parents were both high up in Assemblies of God from Missouri. In 2001, he's being confirmed to be Attorney General. And the Democrats make an issue of his personal faith and how he might use it to impose things on the rest of it. And he said, Senator, as a Christian, it is against my religion to impose my religion on anyone. Bam.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Because if I cannot, through my life and through the power of the Holy Spirit, convince you of the truth of the gospel, then I'm sorry, you just have to go to hell. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know, what did Joshua say? Choose you this day who you will serve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Yeah.
End of story. I cannot beat somebody over the head and make them come to Christ. That's not what happened to me. It took months for this little young black hippie to get me to come to this Jesus freak meeting. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, and it was just one night I decided, and it wasn't him. He gave the invitation. You know, he just asked me a question, me being high. He asked, is this herbal high satisfying you? And I had to ask myself, was that herbal high? Because every time I would see him, I'd be high. And I had to ask myself, you know, it's not. And then I keep saying, yeah, I'll come. And I wouldn't do it because I was picturing something other than it was. And then one day I said, I'm going to go. And I even had something else beforehand, but praise God. I mean, seriously, it makes me almost want to cry to think about it, that miraculously God still kept me to that commitment that I was going to go, and I showed up late, but I showed up just in time, and he got me.
As 5 years ago, I was very involved in trying to change our law. My intention was that particular veterans and all people with PTSD, because I was, as an advocate, committed to mental health success in reform and saving lives. I wanted them to be able to benefit from cannabis medicine. Because of where I'm coming from, right out of, presidential campaigns that I've run and being seen as a leader in the Republican Party, all of a sudden, there's this little nuance, and all these, dreadlock crowd started inviting me to things and started getting involved, and they were listening. And I'd have to tell them, ask yourself. I'm not asking you. I don't care if you're being nagged by your parents or what. You ask yourself, why do I take this? If sobriety is no longer pleasing enough to my life, I got to find out why. I said, go see someone. Go see a counselor, see a guru, see a minister, whoever. But find out why you can't live a sober life. Now, if you need it to deal with a mental health issue, a physical pain issue, whatever, sleep issue, I got that. Just know why you do this. Because I think what you're saying here is there was an emptiness and you were filling it with an herbal high.
Marijuana, for those of you in Jenks.
Yeah. As I called it, cannabis medicines, right? I one of the legislative leaders designed this T-shirt. Veterans for
He's
cannabis.
Pushing the marijuana nowadays.
And I'm a teetotaler. I mean, since I was 18, I don't. There's no liquor, no marijuana, no nothing, right?
Yeah, I wasn't using it for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, you were using it to deal with an emptiness you felt inside.
Yeah, that I didn't know I had. I was just I was enjoying it. I was just trying to get
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if that becomes a regular thing,
right,
then you're looking for something. You have to, is this really what I want?
It's like alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
Sex,
But the guy who wants a shot of brandy to help him sleep better at night, I don't have a problem with that. What a person does in their own home, generally, I'm just like, hey, the Republican Party needs to get away from it. And what convinced me of it, and largely convinced me of a lot of what Ron Paul was saying, even though I was working to stop him when he was running for president, was this whole issue. We can't use the government to impose our cultural lifestyle on others where it comes to just how I live. Now, there are issues with child exploitation, with public safety that we always have to be mindful of because we have to share the same globe.
Human trafficking.
Yeah.
Women. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. See, oh man, you could give me, you want to get me on another whole track, that church is asleep with, the whole thing of, my old thing that I keep coming back to, renovating your living room while the house is on fire.
Yeah.
And we're ignoring the rest of the house is burning down while we're renovating, and these pastors and churches that are so busy with their programs, their youth programs, their music programs. We got the best this, we got the best. Our children's ministry is great, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and you're not speaking to the bigger issues that are right here. I've got one right here. California School District approves curriculum accusing Israel of ethnic cleansing and war crimes. So, these are things that the church is just not dealing with. And, here's what's so hypocritical. Here's what's funny to me, okay? You got Kanye West, okay, in California, being accused of being anti-Semitic, right?
Okay.
The big thing, they want to take away everything, take away his money, blackball him, just beat the guy into the ground for being anti-Semitic, for attacking Hollywood Jews or New York, Madison Avenue Jews that have power, that control, say, the entertainment industry, certain professional Jews in a professional segment, okay?
Right.
But here is an official California state school district that is attacking the nation where the Jews come from, attacking the entire nation, and nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody says a word. Nobody. It's no big deal. Here. Listen to this. California District Board voted to approve 2 new ethnic studies courses. These are courses they're going to teach the children, okay?
Yeah.
That would teach high school students that Israel has committed war crimes and ethnically cleansed Palestinians. The Santa Ana Unified School District approved 2 new courses titled Ethnic Studies, World Geography, and Ethnic Studies, World Histories for the upcoming fall semester. The courses push anti-Israel sentiment, despite Gavin Newsom's coming out against a similar curriculum proposal last year due to its bias. So, congratulations, Governor, for stepping up for something there. But man, can you believe that?
Yeah.
Did you hear about this on the national news anywhere?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I do see this is the fissure you're seeing between the Jewish influence in the Democrat Party and the black socialist influence. Because this is going to be a problem within the Democrat Party. I'll say this to what Kanye's talking about in the corporate world, business world. He's pointing out something that is legitimate to varying degrees in varying places, varying industries.
Exactly.
I have a brother who lives in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and he said in local politics, in many of the communities here in Wyoming, if you're not Mormon, you're treated way different.
Oh, yeah.
My good friend, Steve Bias, over there, he's Baptist, and he goes, teaches professor at a Baptist university, Randall University.
He's not biased, is he?
Yeah, I know it. And I sometimes refer to in Oklahoma the Baptist mafia in politics. He hates it. Oh, he gets mad. But, and it's not just an Oklahoma thing. Wherever the ascendancy, the greater organized sectarian groups, whether it's religious, I don't think what Kanye was dealing with had to do with the Jewish faith. It had to do with an ethnicity that was required to enter into this little fraternity that's controlling industry. Yeah. Like, take, the diamond industry.
Yeah.
It's controlled by not just Jews, but pretty much Orthodox Jews, right. Hasidic Jews.
Right, yeah, they're Hasidic.
And
Hasidim.
Right, so, these things just do happen. It's a good old boys network.
Yeah.
And I'm just as much against, like, for instance, we had a special election for U.S. Senator back in, 14, and T.W. Shannon's up against James Lankford. And Lankford being director at Falls Creek, the big Baptist Bible camp. Everybody sent their kid in the Southern Baptist Oklahoma, send your kids to Falls Creek. Right. And their kid comes back on fire for God and everything. James Lankford looks like, he's the one that's saving the next generation. And I said, every Southern Baptist church in Oklahoma became a de facto Lankford campaign headquarters in the county.
Yeah.
And I called that the Baptist Mafia. You know what? I don't have a problem with that per se.
But see, you can attack the Baptists all you want. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to get on you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say anything.
Yeah.
You know, in Tulsa, strangely, if you look at it, the mayors tend to be Catholic.
Yes, they do.
You notice that? That's a weird one.
No, Catholics in Oklahoma are way overrepresented in elective office. They succeed.
Overrepresented.
Well, you look at their percent of the population.
Compared to the, yeah.
Right.
But it's just kind of an odd thing when you think of the whole Baptist thing.
Well, if you can talk about underrepresented, you can talk about overrepresented.
Yeah.
Right?
No, right.
They're just
I agree.
successful.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one who really got hit hard was Dewey Bartlett's dad, Dewey Sr. was the first Catholic elected governor, and they went after him. So the Bartlett family here in Tulsa, the LaFortune family, there's just been a bunch of them. Yeah, I mean, my good friend Mark Costello, devout Catholic, and I mean a fine man. Mm-hmm. His wife, fine folks. Right. Look, the Catholics Frank Keating, another one. There's a certain discipline to the way your life is run according to Catholic tenets and what's expected in the church. And that's true of the Mormons, too. And I think to the Jewish community, they have certain discipline.
Yeah, it's almost like Tulsa is politically run by Catholics supported by the Jewish business community.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Because if you think about it, you got the Catholics running the mayoral, and then you've got the Zarrow.
Right.
The, George... Kaisers, the Kaiser Zarrows, and who's the other one? There's several of these Jewish families with all the money behind the Catholic.
Right.
It's kind of a strange thing.
When my son was part of a little an elementary basketball program that called Little Dribblers, and a lot of churches would sponsor him, Kathy LaFortune, Bill LaFortune's wife, was coaching the team from South Tulsa Baptist. They did a good job of making the Protestants think that they're Protestant. But every Sunday they went to Mass.
Yeah.
And to some degree, I have to say, you know what, that's good that we're bridging divides like that and involving the whole community. I remember when Richard Roberts, as president of ORU, was trying to get the broader church community, he would spend a few months, he would go to Church on the Move, and then he would, not just Victory, but they would go to different churches and ingratiate himself on a personal level. And some of that is just building inclusiveness.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that and stuff. So, I don't know, we're off on another, but Kanye West, he's calling out something that has gotten nasty. That if you're not part of our little clique,
exactly.
People accuse the Masons of that because in their pledges and vows, they're told that they have to refer to a Mason brother amongst another. And if you elect a judge to district court in a civil suit, whether it happens or not, it's in their pledges. They have to rule in favor of the brother.
Yeah.
So these are problems.
Oh no, it's true. And see, what I was getting at though, just simply is that the Kanye thing. It just shows that the Jewish or anti-Semitic attack against Kanye was all just BS. Mm-hmm. That they don't care about anti-Semitic remark. It's all about his political leanings that he was supporting Trump. It was
they're
Trump.
Terrified of
Trump. Yeah, that's what it is. That's all it was, that he was popular and he was supporting Trump. So they had to figure out some way to chop him down to take away his popularity. And that's the angle they used. And honestly, it ended up being successful because you haven't heard from Kanye in a while. Right. And he lost millions of dollars. He's lost millions of dollars.
You look at, so who is the libertarian black man, Larry Elder. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's black. The thing that animates him so much with Kanye is he's a cultural icon. Larry Elder's not.
No.
He's black and he's a cultural icon, and he left the reservation. Right. Remember, that's to be... The Democrat Party falls apart as a viable political influence if they lose the black.
You use the wrong term.
Okay.
He left the plantation.
Yeah.
You can't say reservation because that'll get you in trouble with the Native Americans.
I don't care.
Got to be careful.
I don't care.
I know. I'm just messing with you. Get your terms right, Dave.
Yeah.
Get your terms right. He left a plantation.
Yeah.
You can use that one.
Right. Yeah. And so, well, and I'll tell you, speaking of reservation, I go to other parts of the United States, like visiting my family up in Minnesota. Their view of the tribal members is they're always been the one exploited. They're always the one poor. They're always the one, and, the sympathetic one. And, I talk about things in Oklahoma, and they just have this view of, they're never a political power, the tribes. And I said, our governor is a Cherokee Indian.
Yeah, see, that's what's so weird, that the Oklahoma tribes have used the plight of truly suffering tribes. I mean, tribes that I think have been truly abused. You take the Lakota, some of the Sioux, and the Apache out west and up north. As you go further, the different multitudes of tribes that you have north and west that don't have the money that these so-called civilized tribes. I guess the other ones, since you call these civilized, they must be uncivilized or savage. Right, I know. The Western savages, or something. I mean, to me, I'd be upset if they call these guys civilized. Well, what does that make us, But anyway, but these so-called civilized tribes that we have here in Oklahoma and that are still in North Carolina and Georgia and Mississippi and Florida, they're not hurting at all.
No.
And yet you have, if you go to New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, go up to Colorado, Wyoming, I mean, some of these people are still really hurting. And it really kind of ticks me off. I don't ever want to hear anybody here complaining about.
Yeah, they're hurting in.
Well, that's true. But they're hurting like black people are hurting. Because they've been exploited.
And they have been talked to depending on the government.
There you go. And these guys here, these people, those people, now, these civilized tribes, because of their civilized state, have been smart enough to outsmart the white man.
Yeah. Now, I'll say, you take, the Choctaws, the Cherokees, Seminoles, heavily influenced culturally before the American Revolution by the French, actually even intermarrying with the French. Greenwood Lafleur, principal chief of the Choctaws, is half French.
After whom? Greenwood.
Greenwood Avenue, yes. A slave owner himself.
Which is so funny. They changed Brady. But they don't want to change the name of Greenwood.
We love Greenwood.
We can't change Greenwood. That's
this
funny.
great slave owner. We want to keep his name.
We want to keep his name.
Yeah, but anyway, and the problem is, and especially the Cherokees want to keep hitting this Trail of Tears. The removal, as they called it, where you sent these tribes, go to Oklahoma, was voluntary. Believe it or not, it was voluntary. Greenwood Lafleur chose to stay in Mississippi for two reasons. He had a huge plantation, vast wealth, so big that the town was named Greenwood, Mississippi, after him and his father. And he had the most slaves, the biggest plantation, and he was very influential in the Mississippi State Senate. Yeah. Best friends with Jefferson Davis, also a senator, who became the president of the Confederate States of America. But the reason they came to Oklahoma is they were given a choice. You can be American citizens, live under American government, and be just like everybody else. But if you want to stay autonomous and live under Indian rule, Indian laws and everything, you have to move to a territory. Because we can't have that inside of a state. Right. Everybody in the state has to be treated the same. Now, where it got it ugly, because it did get ugly, was they said, wait a minute, if we have to go through other tribal territories to get there, we're in danger. They may be feeling like we're invading them. So the federal government said, we will escort you. Now, problem is when you turn it over to the military, including Andrew Jackson, in his military, is you got to keep up with the rest of them. You got to stay in the caravan.
Right.
And it got nasty at times because these soldiers want to get home to their families, too. And, yeah, there was brutality, no doubt. But it was for those families that said, we want to remain autonomous. So Greenwood LaFleur had to give up his position as principal chief of that band that came to Oklahoma.
Right.
So I just want to explain that.
No. It's good. See, you heard it here got you some education.
Now, if you're a tribal member and historian and you think there's something wrong, I want to hear from you. Okay, I don't claim to know it all. This is as I best understand it. But I want it in full context.
Yeah, no, and it's important. But it's so funny because I remember when we had the Pat Campbell show.
Yeah.
One morning we had this one of the what do you call them? The black tribal members, the freedmen.
Yes.
The lady who was she was fighting against the Cherokee who were trying to kick them off the rolls. And I was interviewing her, and she was talking to me, and I said, well, what about the Trail of Tears and everything? Isn't that, some of that terrible? And she hit me with, well, who do you think was carrying their luggage, their baggage?
Oh! God bless her.
Oh, man. And
because they were hauling their slaves with them.
Yeah, they brought the slaves with them. And I thought, oh, my goodness, I never even considered that they brought their slaves with them. That's the whole, because, see, you remember the 40 acres and a mule agreement they made?
Yeah.
And that was a part of the deal, that they either had to give their slaves the 40 acres and a mule or make them members of the tribe. Right. That's the whole, for those of you that don't know it, that they had to give them the 40 acres and a mule. Now, apparently, the Chickasaw, they gave them 40 acres and a mule. That's how
T.W.
Shannon, his people own this land out in western Oklahoma. And but I think he's members of more than one tribe somehow.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he is.
I think he might be Choctaw as well.
Yeah, I think he's Choctaw and
something
and
Chickasaw.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, so his family owns this land out there, and they've done well. Let's just put it that. But so anyway, those slaves out there, they got their land, they got their mule and everything. But the Cherokee, the Choctaw, I don't know about the Creek. They probably didn't do it either. I think maybe two tribes.
Yeah, see, every tribe made its own compact at Reconstruction, right after Civil War.
Right. So the Chickasaw basically doesn't have that. They don't have no black members on their rolls because they decided to set them free. And so unless I guess they married into the tribe or were born.
Oh, that's the thing. He said, I am both Chickasaw and freedman. Some of his relatives actually were tribal members after Reconstruction. He told me that himself. T.W. did.
But if he were a freedman, they'd have to be from one of the other tribes because the Chickasaw have no.
No, what I'm saying is you look at several generations. Some of his ancestors were freedmen, left the tribe, got their land. Other ancestors of his were actually full-blooded Chickasaw Indian. And he said as an amalgamation, right? Like I'm part German, part Irish, that kind of thing.
But they wouldn't be freedmen. In other words, some of his are actual tribal members, and some are actually the ones that were set free. I mean, you can't call them free because the freedmen are the ones that are still tribal members.
Right, but it's not an either or. Just like I'm both Irish and German, right? Partially. T.W., some of his ancestry comes directly down the tribe by blood, through Chickasaw.
Right.
Other ancestry coming down the line of generations is from that freedman separation.
Well, if it's freedman separation, it wouldn't be Chickasaw The Chickasaw had no freedmen.
They didn't have freedmen with tribal membership, right? They were former slaves, emancipated, set free.
Right, but they have no tribal rights.
That's correct.
That's
yes, and that's it. Just like after the Civil War, the U.S. government, the U.S. government.
There has to be some time every show we have to do this.
Well, it's just making sure our terms are the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we mean, because we made a deal at the end of the Civil War. Right. Any slaves want to go back to Africa. We actually owned a colony in Africa called
Liberia.
Liberia, thank you. And its history is coming from America. Once you became a Liberian, you were no longer a U.S. citizen or resident or property.
It's interesting. Yeah, if you study that the nation is run, the rulers of Liberia are former slaves that came from America, not Africans. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's kind of an interesting thing. It's the people that came from here, went back to Africa, ended up becoming superior to the native Africans in Liberia. Mm-hmm. That's another whole story. We could, let's enough of that.
But we presented them options.
Yeah, we did.
And I don't know. I've got to find this out. Were there some tribes that did an option where each individual slave head of home said, you either take this or you stay one of us?
Oh, that I don't know.
I've got to find that out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting too.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I did this week talk to a Cherokee Indian leader. I'd say a leader, he's not in elective office, is our friend Michael Stopp. Mm-hmm. And he gave me an update on the Cherokee elections. Our friend Wes Snowfire, who was in the studio with us about a year ago, is actually running for Cherokee chief. And
he, by the way, wanted to come back in to talk to us again.
Right. So we got that. And the head of the Oklahoma GOP I think it's in Rogers County, is running on a ticket with him, running for vice chief.
Wow.
And so if they win, you've got two very conservative, politically active Republicans. They're doing it. Now, is that unprecedented? No. Oklahoma as a state was organized by the tribes. First, they tried to get just the eastern Oklahoma admitted as a state called Sequoia. And when Congress would not accept that, and Theodore Roosevelt, immediately they went to the ranchers and farmers in western Oklahoma, said, let's take all of Oklahoma territory and ask to be a state, and we'll all be one Oklahoma. And that's where the understanding of the people was, okay, you're going to give up your identity as a Choctaw or Cherokee and everything when it comes to governmental autonomy and be part of Oklahoma. And the fight we're dealing with today is Congress didn't complete it by dissolving the reservation status. And now we got this tug of war going on. But anyway, so that's going on. I did get a correction on the last run when my friend David Walkingstick, I've known him since he was 3. He was my neighbor. He was taken off the ballot. And I thought it was a little bit of shenanigans. Michael Stopp said, no, actually, it's for something that's very consistent with U.S. government, that when you're running a campaign, you can't also have a PAC, what we also call dark money, and you run that dark money or be too involved. And he said he stayed too involved in that PAC. He started it and then tried to wash his hands, and stuff, but that was still going on. And according to Michael Stopp, no, David actually, he was taken off for violating some very established rules. But now he thinks that we have a good chance. He says the Cherokee people are quite conservative. The leadership is just, a lot of them are very activist, radical leftists, including Chuck Hoskins, who's up for re-election. So we'll see what goes on in that. But this was a perfect segue to talk about, what's going on with them. Michael Stopp, by the way, is running for the post I ran for 2 years ago. I got a little over 40% in a two-way race, but running for vice chair of the Republican Party.
Wow, that would be interesting.
And
That'd
at
be
this
good.
point, I think, I'm voting for him.
Next week is
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Now, we are looking into doing something. I'm a delegate, so I'm going to be on the floor and in and out. I'm probably going to do much like I did at the county convention, just running videos. Eddie, if you're able to just camp out in the lobby there, I'd like to just play producer and bring people back to you for doing that.
Yeah, they won't let me in.
Well, they won't let you in, or I'm just wondering where all the vendors are and everything. If it costs people money to go see the booths,
Right.
and stuff,
I'm sure I could probably go in. I just can't vote.
you can't go into the auditorium onto the floor. But
Well, I mean, they usually have bleachers that I could sit in and watch.
yeah, they'll have the balcony
Right.
in the back, but even that they want to charge money for. But
You're saying unless I want to pay, I can't go in. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
So,
So you're thinking I'm too cheap to pay?
I don't know if you want to, if it interests you. But here's the thing, Eddie. I think you can accomplish a lot more
Oh no, I agree.
out in where all the booths are and all the tables.
I'll catch board representatives walking around who don't want to be in there either, and get them while you're out here.
Yeah. There's so much activity takes place out there. But here's the thing, Eddie. There's so many people appreciate the voice that Fresh Black Coffee gives them.
What we should do is actually have some fresh black coffee.
Yeah, well, if you're selling
The cupboard is
anything,
bare.
we'll have to rent a table.
No, I'm not talking about selling.
Okay,
No, we should have some coffee brewed and out there to give people.
there you go.
And donuts, maybe. If you want to sit down for an interview, you can have a donut and a cup of coffee.
If we're giving it away, then I think we might be fine.
Yeah. Oh, no, we would be giving it away
Yeah,
for an interview.
there you go. Yeah, so, the only person who'll probably say no to the coffee, but yes, the interview is Mark Wayne Mullen. He told us when he was in your last, he says he
doesn't drink coffee.
He can't have any
Oh
coffee.
my goodness! If he did, he'd be bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, the energy that man
Well, no,
has.
he would give us the interview anyway.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. There's going to be a lot of them. I mean, Ryan Walters is wanting
Yeah,
in.
I'd rather get both of them in here anyway. Back in the
understand.
studio for more in depth.
Well, it's not an either or, but I think we could probably pick up easily a couple dozen interviews.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I think it might suffice as kind of an alternative.
Quick hits.
Just as an alternative. Either that or we'll do a Saturday night wrap-up podcast back here.
Or get one of those. Hi, this is so and so, and I encourage you to listen to Fresh Black Coffee.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, moving on. Elon Musk explained the woke mind virus to Bill Maher. Did you get this?
No, tell me.
Yeah. Tesla CEO Elon Musk explained to HBO host Bill Maher Friday night why he believes the woke mind virus. He actually
virus
poses. He says it's an existential threat to civilization, citing threats to merit and free speech. He says, Bill Maher said to Musk, "You have talked about this woke mind virus in really apocalyptic terms. You should explain why you think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide.Ip of all, what is the whole mind virus?" Then Elon says, "I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic. Meritocratic, in other words, that doesn't reward
merit.
Yeah, it doesn't give merit.
Something you earned.
You earn, right. And anything that results in suppression of free speech," Musk responded. So those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous, is that it's often very anti-meritocratic, and you can't question things. Even the questioning is bad. I was trying to figure out where it's coming from. I think it's actually been a long time brewing, in that I think it's been going on for a while. By the way, this is him actually talking. The good thing about Elon, he talks how I think, and I talk sometimes. I think it's been going on for a while, And the amount of indoctrination that's happening in schools and universities is, I think, far beyond what parents realize. Man, between Elon and Robert Kennedy Jr.,
Yeah.
man, if people would just listen to these people, Musk closed the deal to purchase Twitter for $44 billion October 27th, seeking to create a common digital town square on the site, according to Wall Street. Babylon Bee, Seth Dillon later claimed the suspension of the satirical site over a March 15th tweet linking to a satirical post calling Rachel Levine a transgender woman who serves as Assistant Secretary for Health at the Department of Health and Human Services Man of the Year was one of the reasons for Tesla's CEO choosing to buy the site. So basically, they're saying Elon Musk bought Twitter just because they banned the Babylon Bee.
Yes, that was the last straw with
over that one
In
comment.
fact, he sat down for a podcast with Babylon
Right.
just before doing it, and
Right.
they explained it to him. Yeah, Babylon Bee does this great satirical humor thing. They also have a podcast where they get a little bit more in-depth, actual serious. In fact, they actually have another site called Not the Bee.
Yeah, which is real news.
Straight up news,
news, yeah. The contents of school curriculum became a hot button political issue in 2021 as parents protested use of critical race theory, which holds America fundamentally racist and teaches people to view every social interaction and person in terms of race. Parents across the country also raised objection to books with sexually explicit content in recent years, prompting some states to act to remove them from schools.
Can I just clarify?
But let me just finish. I only have one more second. He says, I sort of came to realize this somewhat late, but the experience that we had in high school and college is not the experience that kids today are having. And it hasn't been for, 10, 20 years, Musk said. So he's basically saying that there's this hive mind, and it's very dangerous. It's a virus that's spreading, and it's a danger to our civilization. So what's going on in education and in society right now, he said it's so dangerous that it's destroying and poses a threat to civilization. That's how bad this is.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher, to his credit, is buying into this. And I think he sees it. I think a lot of comedians, it's strange,
Big time.
comedians are seeing this. Yeah.
Joe Rogan, big on it.
Yeah.
Fact is, Joe Rogan, congratulations. He just opened a new comedy club in Austin, Texas, which is his new home. It is huge. And now other comedy clubs are popping up around it because if you can't get tickets to Joe's show, we got room here, and I had listened to his podcast this last week, just a few days ago. He had a libertarian who happened to be a stand-up comic. And they started out talking comedy issues and then went into the whole libertarian mindset. Highly recommend it. It'll help you understand the libertarian take on this. But I want to get back to this quote. Now, either the reporter wasn't complete or Elon pulled his punch here about critical race theory. It's not just they think it's so systemic that it's just so deep that most people are racist and don't know it. They also teach that they're irredeemable, that the nation itself is irredeemable, which grabs license to the unspoken part of we have to overthrow the nation. They don't say that, but that's the logical direction this is going.
Yeah, I mean, they're stupid. I mean, really, they're stupid to think that it's like, you know what it reminds me of? You remember that couple a few years ago that decided they were becoming friends with the grizzly bears? And they decided that they're going to live with the grizzlies. And then one day, the people went and found only their clothing, that they had disappeared.
Yep.
Because basically, they got eaten by the grizzly bears. That's what I see happening to the people that think that they can continue to feed the black community and the influx of migrants and not bring total ruin to the United States of America. And if you throw China into the mix, it's over. I mean, you talk about existential threats. There it is. And it deals with this woke virus mind because it weakens our entire structure to the point where we will implode, and then the foreigners, China, can just come in like vultures and pick us to pieces. And once we're gone, Europe, you're done. Europe, you're done. To my friends in Europe that may want to watch this, America's you survive today only because of us.
Yeah.
If we're gone, you're toast.
You know, Paul Harvey, native Tulsan, Oklahoman, he had a political view of American foreign policy. This is back in the 80s. He said this. He says, America's never lost a war, but we've never won a treaty. And he used the term that we knew back in the Soviet days, the Soviet Union, the mascot. We always referred to them as the Russian bear, right? So he finished his broadcast one day. He says, a mountain man went out into the the countryside one winter day, needing some fresh meat. So he takes his gun out there. He comes upon a big old grizzly bear. So he holds up his rifle and aims, and the bear looks at him, and the bear says, wait, don't shoot. We can understand each other. Let's sit down and have a talk. And the mountain man says, I just need a fresh meal. No, the bear said, I just need a fresh meal. And the mountain man says, I just need a warm coat. So the bear says, well, let's sit down and negotiate, see if we can't find a solution that we're both happy with. Paul Harvey said the negotiation went on into nightfall. The next day, the mountain man had a warm coat and the bear had a fresh meal. The mountain man was inside the bear. Yeah. Now, Paul Harvey says these things way better than I can tell the story. Yeah. He's a master at it. But this is the problem, trying to negotiate. We have not had a good history as a nation of having good treaties, good negotiations.
You know, it reminds me, you remember Rush Limbaugh used to do this story about the woman and the snake.
Oh, yeah. You knew what I was.
Yeah. The lady saw this poor snake. It was dying. It was freezing. It was hurting. So she brought it in and she fed it and she took care of it and everything. And then finally the snake ended up biting her, poisoned the snake and killed her. And she says, why'd you do that? You know, he said, oh, silly woman. You knew that I was a snake. Yeah. You know, and you took me in anyway. Yeah. So you should have known better. Yeah. Yeah. And that is the truth. And that's where we are today, that we've got these people that somehow, and I just don't get it, what can cloud the mind so much that you would just abdicate common sense to allow some of the thoughts and ideas. The only thing I can think of, there's so much bitterness, so much hate, that root of bitterness that has grown to where it has just overtaken your common sense.
Scripture warns us against letting a root of bitterness grow up that defiles many.
And that's what, and that's what I deal with in there, that you know, the unforgiveness in the black community has done that, and then on the other side, you've allowed the white community to buy into it to where they have taken on the guilt, and they don't forgive themselves. Yeah, they no longer forgive themselves, but they couch it in our parents or grandparents, our ancestors. So we now have to do penance for something people did so many centuries ago. Yeah. And you can never, it's never enough, because to the malicious, the people today, how much is enough? Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they will always want more, and they'll take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Until they gobble you up, like the bear or the snake.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah. Chuck Strom used to say, whenever the liberals are pushing you, you got to just ask them, how much will be enough? Right. They won't answer that. They won't answer that. Back during the whole BLM riots, the George Floyd thing, church that my family's been attending, a wife of one of the ministers there went on Facebook to have this kind of thing of, as a white person, I'll never know what you went through. I'll never understand. I'll never do that. I cringed because she was preaching this doctrine of I'll always be lacking in empathy. So I responded to it. I didn't mean to be rude or anything. It says, what God calls me to be, what God calls me to do is sufficient. And I can do it because God tells me to do it. God never expects something of you that you can't do.
Right.
And so for white guilt to reach this point of saying, I'll never have what I should have, that it's systemic and irredeemable, that's such a poison.
Yeah, and especially the Christians, I talk about that too, that basically for a Christian to continue to carry this guilt, you're basically saying that Jesus' atonement on the cross was not enough.
Yeah, and that God cannot work in me to the extent he needs to.
Well, really, be honest, God doesn't need to. For something that happened 300 years ago.
That's true.
So, yeah. So, the first thing is that God has to, on the other side, forgive.
Yeah.
They have to forgive. This is the thing. The warning I put out there to the black community is from Matthew 7. If you don't forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive you.
Yeah.
That's a heavy deal. Can you imagine?
Right.
If I don't forgive, my Father in heaven is not going to forgive anything that I do.
Yeah.
So the first thing I've got to do is forgive.
Yeah. And if you were to follow the premises of all those who are calling for reparations in a logical, reasonable way, Barack Obama would be paying reparations, not receiving them.
Twice.
Yeah. Tell me why. Break it down.
Because his father's people sold us.
Yes.
And his mother's people bought us.
Right. Because his mother's from Kansas, right?
And her grandparents were slave owners.
Well, there you go. So, this is the thing. Just going by the, shades of beige, as I like to refer it, you just can't. You can't. And to me, it's superficial to look at people by their shade of beige or how curly their hair is. You just can't. And the people in Minnesota where I grew up, slavery was never tolerated there.
My former secretary, I may have mentioned this, she did a 23andMe test, and she came around to me, oh, guess what? We're related. I said, well, what? She said, I'm 5% sub-Saharan African.
There you go.
And she's Mexican.
Yeah.
So I just started cracking up. Sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how stupid it gets. Really, if you think about it, if you went and started doing these tests for everybody, every Mexican that has any brown, because Mexico, in fact, oh man, so many. If you don't have this book, and I'm not just trying to play, really, there's stuff in here you won't know. But basically, and I'm giving a lot of it away. But you want to get it, and you can give it to somebody else. But of all the slaves, people are always, they guilt you. They guilt us by telling us, 14 million slaves died in the transatlantic crossing, right? In the bringing slaves over, okay? The Middle Passage, they call it, the Middle Passage. and 14 million slaves, and I was doing the math and I was saying, man, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Well, then to come to America based on how many people are here. Well, we're here in that period of time when slavery was allowed. Mm-hmm. Well, then I find out doing research that of all the slaves that came in the Middle Passage, only 5% ended up in North America. 95% were in Mexico and South America.
Wow. Yet
we're the ones that are being blamed and are supposed to pay all the reparations.
Right.
South America and Mexico, you know why South America and Mexico aren't put on the front pages of everything or written in every book?
They're trying to shake them down for money.
Because they don't have any money. Yeah. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
It's very simple. I mean, if you look at it, it's very, very simple.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't take rocket science. So, but there's so many misconceptions, so many lies, so many distortions, so many things that people are being fed that aren't true. And you've got to stop. We've got to stop buying this BS that are being fed and this critical race theory and these crazy ignorant, and I say ignorant because most of them don't know their history. They're just feeding you a line. They call themselves professors or experts in Afro history or Afro something. Yeah. And it's like Pat and I one day on the old show. But one day on the show, we had this girl. No, we didn't have it. It was a news story or something, and this girl wanted to be something that doesn't exist. She wanted to be a something physicist, and there was no such thing. And so I decided I was going to be an astrophysicist.
There you go.
Not an astro, but an astrophysicist.
So you should put that in the book.
Yeah, I did.
Written by Afrophysicists.
That would give me. But so after that, I used to be introduced as our Afrophysicist.
Ah, yes.
Eddie Huff. So anyway, but a lot of these people are Afrophysicists, because it's just BS artists.
Yeah, I want to say, the more I've learned, especially in the Tulsa GOP, which is becoming significantly black activist membership, Paula Price being one. She's had some great insights that she's added to the dialogue. The black community has a lot of good sense in ways I wish the rest of us did. There's certain things they don't buy. But on this issue of, the victim mentality, they are victims of that pitch. They're been harmed by it by the race baiters.
Yeah. Don't believe that.
Tell me about it.
They have not been victimized. They have allowed themselves.
Oh, I understand.
Or let's put it this way. It's something they want to buy into because it feeds that human nature, the darker angel, if you will. That's what it is. It's everybody. For example, I used to talk about. I was just waiting for it to creep over into the white community. Yes. Okay, we used to talk about white people are like. For example, black people have always been accused of manipulating welfare. Being welfare. So if you talk about a welfare mother, right, first thing you think of is a black person.
Okay.
Well, there's the other side of it. That's a disability person.
Yeah.
So I call it white man's welfare is disability. So I have all of these people, as an insurance agent, I have all these people that I know that are on disability. So for some reason in their minds, they would never be on welfare because, that makes me an ignorant N-word, right?
Right.
So I can't be like them because other white people would, think I'm just like them. So, but, wait a minute. I can get disability payments now.
Right.
All I have to do is say my back is, I can't work or this. And so you've got all the white people. I call it the white man's welfare is disability.
Yep.
So now you get people, you're on disability for so long, then you don't have to work. It's basically
right.
welfare. Welfare is what it is, right? So black people are on welfare, white people are on disability. Now, it used to be Mexicans and South Americans come in this country, right? They would work. Mm-hmm. They're good workers. Now we're getting to the point where you got them in probably in L.A., some in Texas and different places, more and more.
Yeah.
They're starting to learn the system, work the system.
Yeah.
It just creeps. It's creep.
Yeah.
After a while, you like, well, wait a minute. I'm a fool. If all this free money is out there. And it's almost like you're a fool to work when there's more free money out here for not working.
Yeah.
I have my babies, my kids, I would get all this, oh no, get free money. And here's the sad thing. A lot of it is churches. We've got an organization in North Tulsa, Catholic Charities, right? Catholic Charities runs all of these benefits they're deep. They get
usually on federal grants too.
Right, in federal grants. They have money, they have legal services, they have food service, they have medical services, they've got you name it. They find you housing, they do all these things. You go to Catholic Charities and you've got all these different groups. You go to the Social Security office and it's just full of Hispanics.
Right.
And so where it used to be Hispanics would come across and first thing they would do is find some work.
Yeah.
And then next thing, one generation later, like when I came to Tulsa, I've been here 31 years now. Okay. I came here and I used to insure these people that would have these little jobs here and here and here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them would be like painter's assistants.
Yeah.
Or working on a road crew.
Yep.
Now, if you drive down, you get a road crew.
Yep.
Working on the highways or something. Mm-hmm. You got a Mexican foreman.
Yeah.
And then you got a whole Mexican crew.
Yeah.
You got a painting crew. It's Perez and Brothers.
Yep.
The Perez brothers. You got the this and the that. Gomez and Rodriguez.
Show up and work hard.
And they moved up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and you don't see a black person out there anymore.
Yeah. They show up. They work hard.
They work hard. The saddest one I ever saw was I was driving through North Tulsa one day. Mm-hmm. It was middle of summer, June, July, hot as anything. It's probably 105 degrees. And I'm going down Hartford. Mm-hmm. And I drive by these projects. Mm-hmm. Okay, quiet. Nothing was stirring. And all of a sudden I come up, and outside the projects, here's a Mexican kid. Mm-hmm. I said, it could be Guatemalan. So excuse me.
He looked Hispanic.
No, he was Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know which country. Mm-hmm. So Hispanic, had a baseball cap on, a tank top, some jeans out there, had his trimmer, had just cut the grass. He's out there with his trimmer, edging, doing a good job, cleaning everything up. Mm-hmm. Place looking great, And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many young black men are asleep inside those projects right now at 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah. That
could be out here doing the same thing as this 19, 20-year-old Hispanic kid who's making money. Right, half a block down is his truck, couple of years old, pickup truck, nice pickup truck. He's got all his equipment and everything in. Mm-hmm. He's going to get done, throw his stuff in the back of that thing, boom, he's off in his truck,
Yeah.
And he'll get his money, and then, and he probably lives with, like, they'll come and they'll have a family.
Yeah.
Like two, brothers and their families living in one house. They'll get that house paid off in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And then, and then, they moved up. Yep. All of a sudden, you know, and he probably lives with like they'll come and they'll have a family. Like two, brothers and their families living in one house. They'll get that house paid off in 5 years. because they put all the money together.
That's right.
They pay that house off.
Yeah.
Buy another one.
Yeah, and they have 5 people sharing a bedroom, right?
Well, not in families, but yeah, young families, but anyway. So once they get the one paid off, then they buy another one,
right?
And then the ones here, they help pay for the second house,
right?
Now they got the 2 houses, and they pay that off in 5 years,
yeah.
And they have like the in-laws come in, and if they have other brothers and come in,
right?
And the house is already paid off.
Yeah.
So now what they're doing, they'll buy a third house to set up these people. And that's how they do it. They don't have debt. They're paying cash. They'll go down and buy a truck or a car.
Yeah.
Cash. The wives are working. They get the kids to school. The kids, they're working with them to learn English and get educated and move. And I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
But I say because I saw it next door to me, a young Hispanic guy, and then he ends up married. Now they've got kids, and now, they've got an extra bedroom because they don't give every kid their own bedroom. And now he's got 2 nephews coming from Latin America, and, and then their buddy, and now there's 3 people renting there, sharing a bedroom. And sometimes,
which will help them pay off the house.
Exactly.
Right.
And because they don't live off of the vanity of, I want my own bedroom and my own bathroom, like most, affluent families think we need. I mean, I grew up at a time, there was no such thing as a master bedroom where I grew up. All the bedrooms are bedrooms. And I lived in a family of 11 with 1 working bathroom, family of 11. So I'm just saying, we become soft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's why, getting back to, what we were talking about, this whole thing of, the difference in cultures, but what we've created.
Yeah.
We've created this welfare society.
Yeah.
And now it's bled into a disability society.
Yeah, a plantation.
And then we've creating now, and it's gone from the white community, the black community, over into the white community. Yeah. You see a bunch of fat white people that don't want to work, slovenly whites, and then it's moving now into what used to be the Hispanic community of hardworking. You're getting that Hispanic community that's bought into this. It's the generation that was born here and grew up, and they don't want to work now either because they don't have to. They see their friends that they go to school with and hang out with that. Well, wait a minute. They're not working. They're not doing anything. They're getting all this. Government's going to get us all.
They got their Obama phones.
And so I don't want to do it. So, that second generation, third generation, then that ends up living off the, government. And it's just on and on. And now with these millions of new immigrants that are coming across the border with no checks and balances, it's just going to be worse and worse. From Haiti, from Pakistan, from Iran, Iraq, you name it. And it's just going to.
2 years ago, well, actually, it was several years ago, 2016, I was up in Chicago at a conference, and FreedomWorks put it on. And we were at a dinner meeting. C.L. Bryant, Pastor Bryant, he just flat out told us, he says, everybody talks about, the black man living on the plantation. He says, folks, we got more white folk living on the plantation. And he says, it's sad that me as a black man have to tell the white man to get off the plantation.
Yeah, that's where we are.
I thought he put that very succinctly. Yeah. I got 2 other issues. I know we don't have much time.
We'll go ahead and wrap up.
Okay. Parents, grandparents, you need to listen to this. We have an opportunity to have probably the biggest reform in public education in Oklahoma, but it's being tied up by a bunch of juvenile people running much of our legislature. Governor Stitt came in when the House and the Senate. House writes this great bill. Senate thinks they got a better version, and so they changed the House bill once it passed. Now all of a sudden it's stuck, and Governor Stitt comes up. He says, okay, let's split the difference here, guys. Get me a bill that you both can pass, and he put some parameters in it, and the House is like, okay, we'll talk. Senator Greg Treat, who's only answerable to his constituents up in northeastern Oklahoma County, Edmond area. But he runs the Senate like a tyrant. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say it. Greg, you know better than this. I've had my issues with him personally in GOP's leadership stuff. But he's not budging. And if we don't get something in the next 3 weeks, we miss this major opportunity. Now's the time for reform. Now is it, because we may never see this kind of political environment again where we can reform.
Do you know why he is standing in the way here?
I've dealt with him enough, and I've talked to plenty of legislators, both Democrat, Republican, House and Senate. These guys get down to this just very juvenile, power-hungry, I want to be the one that's responsible for what kind of major reform changes education. The more promising the bill, the more they want to say, it was my language that was passed. That's really what this is, because they're not far apart. What this is allows families, you can either take the public school where the district you reside in, or the state will reimburse you whatever tuition was to go to a private school up to a certain reasonable point. About the same amount we're currently giving the public school to educate your kid, we'll give you that same amount. So it's basically, no increase in spending. We're just like, okay, we're now allowing your kid to go to a private school and get a Pell Grant, not just the state school. It's basically the equivalent of that. We already do it with higher ed. Now we're giving a GI Bill for kids. That's really what it comes to. Yeah. And it's Greg Treat's Senate version doesn't want to help homeschoolers with their costs of their homeschooling to any amount. If you got 5 kids in school age in your family, Treat's language gives you $200 in actual. You have to have receipts for it, but he caps it at that, or $1,000 per household. Governor said no, $1,000 per kid, and they really wanted to do up to $2,500. And when my daughter was taking her advanced classes in high school as a homeschooler, we were using Cornerstone for the physics and chemistry, and we were spending $3,000 a year for our daughter. So it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
and you actually have to show receipts. And it isn't for recitals and dance and, in athletics. This is for core curriculum stuff.
Right.
He wanted, whereas we said private schools, if it's accredited, like some Catholic school or whatever, the original version was we'll take $5,000 per year that the state will reimburse you. Because Treat's district includes things like Heritage Hall, these really fancy prep schools, Cassidy, that area where Cassidy's $23,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Well, we're not going to pay a full bill like Cassidy. Treat wanted up it from $5,000 to $7,500 for them, but then screw over the homeschoolers. And
Senator Treat, you're welcome to come in here and talk with us about your reservations, and we'll be happy to hear your counter arguments.
We may see him next Saturday at the state GOP convention. One year he chaired it, and I had a great team working with me. We're going to do some major reforms to the party, and he saw the kind of effect, and he just killed it. He just used his parliamentary powers as chairman to keep us from finishing it. So 2 years later, I had to bring it back, and I made sure Greg Treat was not going to be chair again, because these legislators tend to run any meeting like they do a Senate committee, where the chairman has dictatorial powers. At his discretion, he can just prevent a bill from coming up. And that's what Greg Treat's doing here. Wow. So we got to get something done. We only have about 3 weeks left.
So
what I told my son yesterday, whose kids go to Region, we may need to show up in force as parents and grandparents and kids at the Capitol and tell these elected leaders, all of them, to grow up, work together, and it doesn't care who gets the.
It's it's the old thing, the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
And the haves want to remain the haves, and that's how
Yeah.
they stay the haves, by
What do you?
making sure the have-nots have not.
Yeah. One other thing.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Rogan, were you going to say something?
Nope. I want to hear your take on it.
Yeah, well, Joe Rogan has said that the best thing for Tucker to do is to do a podcast.
Yeah.
He said that he's designed for the internet.
He is.
That he would do better on the internet, kind of like Joe has done. Joe has got, 12 million followers? And
Oh, yeah.
And Joe thinks Tucker would do even better.
Joe's podcast, I think it grosses over 100 million a year. That's why Spotify paid him all this big bucks.
Yeah.
To get him on their brand exclusively. The only thing that's a stickler, he's still getting paid for another 2 years from Fox. 20 million a year is what I'm hearing.
Right, but the thing is that that he can't go to another network.
Right.
I think that's the only stipulation. I don't think it says anything about him. I don't know, because I haven't seen, nobody's seen it. But I think if he would go to go online.
Here's what I think he needs to do. Make sure that he personally makes no money from it, because they can't use that against him for violating
His
the
contract.
contract,
Right.
the exclusivity, right? He just did a little podcast, a video cast this week. Notice what he carefully steered clear. He never mentioned Fox.
Right.
He mentioned this global media problem, and everybody can think for themselves who's referring to, because Fox is becoming part of it.
Yeah.
And I think he can address issues. What somebody told me Fox is trying to do is silence him for the 2024 election.
Yeah. They said because it's through the 24 elections when they're right. It's a Rupert Murdoch hates Donald Trump so much that he's trying to silence Tucker.
Yeah.
And he knows that. That's what was the straw that broke the camel's back when he had Trump on there.
Yeah. So as good as Joe Rogan's doing financially in every other way, Tucker could easily replace that $20 million of salary.
Oh yeah. But see, and what's good about Joe Rogan, this is what's amazing, and this is what shows what a confident person he is, self-secure, totally secure, that he doesn't care. He says, he says, if I were a person in that position with that power and had a wild card like Tucker and got released from Fox, he said maybe Rumble will make a deal with him or something like that. Do you have any idea how effing big that would be? Mm-hmm. He says it could make. He said it could make that app. It could make that platform. I mean, Carlson, go over there. It would be worth for them to invest considerable amount of money. So he's saying that if Tucker went to Rumble,
I think Rumble's perfect for him.
yeah, and if he put his show on Rumble, it would just make that. It would probably make it compete with YouTube like nothing else.
Right, because they already are set up to be a YouTube type deal.
Right.
What I think, I never associated Spotify with podcasting. To me, that was just a music.
Right.
For streaming music. Right. My kids were big into Spotify.
Joe's on Rumble, isn't he?
Well, I know he's got an exclusive with Spotify.
Oh, he's with Spotify, right? Okay.
But in that, they allowed him, at least for a while, to phase out of YouTube, because Rogan used to do on YouTube. He was getting a lot of money from YouTube, but so they had to ease out. They allowed him to do clips on YouTube for a while, so they could. And it was in Spotify's best interest because you slowly wean them over.
Now is Spotify? They have video now?
Well, they're doing his video.
Oh,
I mean, his podcast. That's how I watch it.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought Spotify was only audio.
No. And in fact, that was the thing. They had to build that infrastructure in order to meet Joe Rogan's demands. I'm not cutting cold turkey off of YouTube.
Right.
So, yeah, at least his podcast is in video format as well as audio on Spotify. So Spotify grew by that. They expanded their capacity to do that. And I think it's good. But remember what's Spotify as a culture, the hissy fits they threw, the walkouts, the employees, demands. We can't have this. In fact, I was just looking at Peter McCullough. When he was on Joe Rogan, exposing all the corruption in this whole vaccine policy debate. In fact, it was Peter McCullough that first popularized the term mass platform psychosis. It comes from another doctor. But he mentions it, and that just triggered the Spotify leftists. That's why when I was in New York last summer, I'm walking right by the Twin Towers location. Right across the street is Spotify's office. Like, I was going to hold up a sign, free Joe Rogan, Yeah.
Yeah, but, it's interesting. But it's interesting that Joe is basically plugging Rumble on here. It is that he is, that's the kind of guy he is. Like I said, very secure guy. He doesn't have any, he doesn't mind. And I guess he's made enough money. He realizes, and he realizes no matter what, he's bigger than the medium.
Yeah.
That he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see where Tucker goes. Like I said, there are two things at play here. That Rupert hates Trump. Mm-hmm. His kids hate Republicans.
Mm-hmm. One more than the other.
Yeah. Lachlan, who I think is the main guy, and probably a lot of it's with his the wives too. They're total libs and support Hillary and all that. And then the other thing, remember Schumer. Mm-hmm. Schumer, when Tucker got a hold of the January 6th tapes and released them, Schumer publicly stood up and almost demanded that Fox remove Tucker.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
And so it's almost like they did it. Maybe they were threatened. And maybe, after that lawsuit with Dominion, which Fox is making very stupid, I don't know their decisions, who's
they're capitulating.
But it's crazy. They're killing their whole brand.
They lost $1 billion in stock trade in one day.
But somebody was saying their advertising revenue is not going to take any hits. They'll still be able to.
Well, I have to say, somebody, I think it was Megyn Kelly, said it's a little more complex than that. There's two other lawsuits coming that do involve Tucker's show. One was actually having to deal with one of his producers.
Oh, yeah.
That had some hidden video stuff.
Well, I don't know if there's hidden video, but she's calling sexual discrimination sexual harassment. He was making some remarks. It wasn't he didn't actually. Yeah. It wasn't any type of sexual activity. He was just a sexist or something,
Yeah. So, but then the other thing is, yes, they still sell advertising. That hadn't been a problem. But he said they weren't getting the high dollar. There's certain brands didn't want to be associated with Tucker. You didn't see the Mercedes commercials and, that kind of.
Yeah, but still, who's going to see the Mercedes commercials if nobody's watching the network? I mean,
I agree.
So you're killing the network to try to get higher ad revenue, and it's
okay. Do you think it's sheer coincidence, that Don Lemon was fired the same day?
Well, I do.
From CNN.
I do.
Okay, you don't think the two have.
I don't see how or why the two would be related.
The only thing people have suggested is maybe there's some agreed cabal that all of these cable news networks, Fox and CNN, were going to agree to match each other moving back to the middle for the sake of both. That's the narrative I've heard some people suggest.
I don't know how CNN is moving to the middle.
I agree. But they're trying to remake their face, right? They've gotten rid of a bunch of people.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And maybe they're just trying to fool us again with fresh faces, but the same lies,
Yeah. Maybe MSNBC is running it all, and they're going to boost their viewership or something.
Yeah, I don't see any conspiracy between that. I think it is coincidence.
I do too.
But we lost Don Bongino a few days earlier from Fox. He was their top weekend show.
I don't think we're done. I think people with any backbone will just quit at Fox.
I think it's happening.
Yeah,
I think their shares are dropping. In fact, I think I saw between when they announced and 3 days later, the Nielsen rating had Tucker his slot at half what it was in just 3 days. That's how much market share they're losing.
Yeah, see, if Newsmax would up, if they got rid of what's his name and got a hitter in there.
Oh, I got to tell you what Newsmax is doing now. I've seen it the last 2 days. Yesterday, their morning show, they're going more into sports coverage. They got John McEnroe's brother. Forget his first name. He's part of the regular show. They had a Democrat strategist that I found amazing. With the sensibilities talking about going back to the middle. And because he criticizes the Democrats extreme, but he also says, the conservatives have got to get away from this because it's limiting their appeal. They had a guy on for over an hour yesterday morning with their morning show. It was the 8 to 10 slot. And I just thought it was brilliant. Somehow they are putting more money and more resources into their production. And I think Newsmax is exactly the right people to cash in on this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I totally agree. If they get the right evening host in that 7 o'clock hour.
Eric Bolling right now has.
Yeah, Eric. I just don't think Eric's the guy.
I think if he did better production, I think Eric could deliver. But it looks like they're just doing low budget. It's just Eric in front of a microphone. When Bill O'Reilly was doing his show, Bill had just this rotation of people coming in, and he was more the anchor. And he would have, the different people coming in. Jesse Waters would give a little 10-minute report. And you just had this rotation. It was always fresh. After every commercial, you had a new set, new person coming in.
It's interesting, though, what I don't understand, and I'm going to see how it plays out, but the most conservative programs on right now are Fox Business.
Yes.
You take Maria Bartiromo in the morning.
There's a lot of rumors that she's next.
Elizabeth McDonald in the afternoon, and then they've got that Megan and what's his name? His wife is on the weekends on Fox. He's the former congressman from Wisconsin. I can't think of names right now. But anyway, they've got most of their shows are very, very conservative. Even Stuart Barney.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole morning,
Fox
and you
Business.
get into the late evening, late afternoon, it's very conservative. I mean, Maria is merciless. I mean, she just Democrats won't even show up on her show.
I agree.
Because she'll butcher them.
Oh, she's fantastic. But rumors are she's next, and probably Sean Hannity to follow.
I don't think Hannity's playing the game. Hannity's a team player. He won't go.
But when time comes and he gets the axe, there's going to be nobody there.
Well, that's true. But Sean's not going. He knows how to walk the line. He's walking the line.
Yeah, there's people. I've seen it happen talk radio here locally where I see people selling their soul, and I've seen it on, cable news, conservative. Some people selling their soul just to hang on, and like, what are you living for? Really? And we see this in politics all the time when the issue that sends somebody to Congress all of a sudden takes a backseat to their reelection. That they would rather make sure they get reelected than actually do the work they got elected to do. Right. And, I thought we were getting into that with Catholic Charities when you're talking about all the grants they get, federal funds. And I once said something, the majority floor leader right away clicked like on it. If the government pays you to do something, for God's sake, don't fix it or you'll lose your contract. And these people that have made their organizational structure dependent on continually getting bigger and bigger grants.
Right.
What happens if they fix the problem?
That's true.
That's just it.
It's like the race doctor. If the patient gets well, they're not needed anymore.
Yeah.
Right? All right.
Well, this is good.
We better.
Before we close out, if you missed our pre-show, I think I'm going to tag it on to the end of our podcast. You won't have as good a sound, but we got into some.
We don't have
things.
much of a pre-show today.
Well, okay.
I hit the button pretty early, but
well, then we got good sound for it because I always start with the bumper music as our production.
Okay.
But
I think we have maybe 2 minutes of pre-show today, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
But yeah. All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
We'll let you
guys.
Yeah, you guys in as well. But I'm running the director of Musicians for Missions.
Yeah.
Youth with a Mission we had a branch called Musicians for Missions. Mm-hmm. And so we would bring these bands over. That was one part of it. And so we decided we had Res Band come over.
Yeah.
And so they're doing concert in the middle of Amsterdam, the city, on a Thursday. Okay. And there was this place called the Boersplein. Now, I didn't know for some reason. I'm living in Amsterdam I'm only there 3 years, but I didn't know that Boers stood for stock. Okay. The stock exchange. It was a stock place.
Oh.
So they had lights playing the Dom Rock, which is a big, right in the center of town, a big square, the town square.
Yeah.
Then the Boersplein was this area in front. I found out after this was the stock exchange.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like you had a big building here and here, so it was 3-sided.
Oh.
And then you had the main street, Dom Rock. So Dom Rock is this big road from the central station up to the Dom Square.
Yeah.
All right, so we used to do street theater and all these things there. So we set up Res Band there on a Thursday afternoon, okay?
So the acoustics, I'm imagining pretty good-sized buildings on 3 sides.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great place. Great place to do stuff.
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's Res Band, you know.
Easy listening, right?
Yeah, right. So they crank and man, you know, they just let it go, you know. And of course, for those of you who don't know, it used to be Resurrection Band, and they shortened it to Res Band. So they just blasted out, and I happened to look up, and everybody in this building is pressed up against the windows, looking down on us.
Yeah.
Well, needless to say, they shut down the stock market that day.
Oh,
because we were so loud.
Yeah.
Nobody couldn't. And the next day, we get a letter or a call from the mayor of Amsterdam.
Key to the city?
Yeah, more like a key to leave.
Key to the jail cell.
Well, we were banned from doing any public thing for like 2 years. And we had to send people down to do a mea culpa.
Oh, yeah.
But because we created such a public disturbance and interfered with the international commerce. I mean, I didn't know, you know. Yeah. But I mean, can you imagine, you know, it was a great performance. I mean, there were thousands of people. Everybody on the street heard this and came, you know, and Res Band is just jamming away, you know, out on the Boersplein, the stock exchange, the square in front of that. But they couldn't do their work because there was so much, you know, noise out there because they were so loud and everything. But who knew? You know, I didn't know what went on in that building. I just knew it was another square. You know, it'd be like Jones Square or this square or this square.
Oh, yeah.
It was in Amsterdam.
Yeah, name for some 16th century mayor or something.
Yeah, they've got, everything's a square over there. It's a square everywhere, And so little did I know that it was the stock exchange, and we shut it down in the middle of the week. It was Thursday. It was Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
It was about 2:00 in the afternoon. We had a great crowd, great ministry, everything. Of course, it interfered with international exchange, commerce and everything around the world. Who knows what it did in New York? I mean, it might have reverberated.
Right.
Through,
No, I just, to flesh this out a bit, if your corporation's going public, you got your IPO and everything, you built up all the momentum, you got all the advertising globally, and you need everything to work synchronized. So you need not just your own nation's stock exchange,
right,
but globally you need all of Europe responding, because other investors down the line waiting for their market to open are wanting to see how's it trading there. And if there's no interest in it, then you're harming a major corporation's launch.
Possibly.
Shame.
Shame. But anyway, so that's my Resman story. But it was wild. Some of the things. But Glenn and Wendy and John is, of course, Wendy's brother. It was. But I have to say, they were very, very good people. Very good people. I didn't agree and still don't agree with their philosophy. That Jesus People USA believed in a common purse. See, YWAM had a different philosophy. So, for example, if you join Youth with a Mission, what's yours is yours. Mm-hmm. So you raise money, and then you just had to pay your own rent. Mm-hmm. It was a community. You live in like my wife Vicky and I and our two kids. At that time we had two kids. Later we had two more, and we lived in a giant house. But first we had a smaller 3-bedroom apartment, and it's a 2-bedroom apartment. It was Vicky and myself, and then no, we did have a 3-bedroom. I'm sorry, and it was my wife, myself. Our kids had a room where they shared, and then there was a girl. Two single girls shared a room, mm-hmm. and we lived in this apartment in Amstelveen, which is a suburb of Amsterdam.
Yeah, but you're performing a very important purpose in that,
right? So we divided the rent 4 ways, basically.
Okay.
So actually a little more. It was like 5 ways, I guess, because the kids were one. Mm-hmm. Vicky and I were each one, so it's 2. Mm-hmm. Kids had a half share. Is the way they did it that way, and then each of the girls, they had a share.
Yeah.
So it was like five ways we divided the rent, and that's how that worked. And then later we lived in a giant house, and rent was divided 21 ways because we had 21.
So how's life as a wealthy televangelist, right? No. Big house.
But also everybody had a job. We divided the jobs. Yeah. All the ladies, used to do, they would had it's called a rota or rotation on cooking, who would cook the food, and then who would do the dishes. No, actually the guys had to do all the cleaning. The men would do the dishes, the women would cook. So the girls had to prep and fix the food. Mm-hmm. And the guys would do dishes after the meals.
Sure.
And then everybody had, like me, it was a 3-story house. Mm-hmm. My job was cleaning the stairwells. Mm-hmm. Somebody had the windows, outside windows. Somebody had, the stairwell had like glass all the way up. Mm-hmm. So they had to clean that. Somebody had to take care of the yard. So 21 people, it wasn't that bad.
That's true.
So, but anyway, that's how at Jesus People USA, all money that came in went into this common purse.
Yeah.
And then you had somebody that would pay all of the bills out of this and buy all the food. And so whatever you had, honestly, it was basically socialism. It was it was a socialist versus a more free market in the other situation.
Can I just simplify that?
Yeah, go ahead.
a fellow who started a ministry about 10 years later happened to be on TBN, and he explained the reform to the Christian commune idea. He says, we don't operate on what's yours is mine.
And what's mine is mine too.
We operate on what's mine is yours. It's a total voluntary thing, which is very much what the original Christian commune church at Antioch did.
Right.
Because people voluntarily, now where they got in trouble, Ananias Sapphira, is they lied. They claimed they gave everything they had.
Right. Exactly. It's a very important theological point that people need to understand. It's not what you give, it's what you honestly give. Mm-hmm. Ananias and Sapphira pretended that they gave all this, but they were holding back and pretending they wanted to look good, like they're big givers.
The first Christian hypocrites in the Bible.
They were heavy tithers. They were the heavy tithers, and they looked good, but they really weren't. They were holding back and deceiving, basically. Yeah. And as he said, you didn't lie to the people; you were lying to God. Mm-hmm. And that's why they were carrying their
God
body
struck
out.
them dead.
Both of them, yeah.
You know what's a beautiful thing about this, mostly overlooked, is the youth group dug the graves. And Blaine Bartell often told a story like this. He says, I can imagine, he says, as a youth leader, you got your kids out there digging, and one day, man, wow, so people die. Why did they die? And the youth leader says, they lied to God. Oh, don't lie to God. Yeah.
And they lied about giving.
Yeah.
By the way, can somebody bring a plate around? No, but no, that's the thing. It's just about being honest in your giving.
Yeah.
And but anyway, that's a difference in Jesus People USA and Youth with a Mission or Operation Mobilization and some of these organizations. So essentially, everybody took care of their own finances in YWAM. And now, if somebody in the house, let's say, didn't get their level they needed of support, then the others in the house could come along and say, "Oh, it's okay, we got extra, and then we can help you reach whatever you need for that month." And that's the way it's supposed to work, and that's the way it should work today. That's the way. Honestly, it worked all along. You take the Quakers situation, okay? The Quakers and Mennonites in those communities. In fact, that's how insurance originally happened. So many of you have seen the movie with Harrison Ford years ago, where The Witness. When a barn burned down, everybody came and built a new barn. So in the original insurance out of the New Amsterdam Insurance Company, what they would do, the different shipping companies, they knew that out of so many ships that went out carrying merchandise across the ocean, some of them were going to sink. And they figured out what the odds were of the ship sinking. So every ship company put in a certain amount of money, and then when one sank, they had the money to buy a new ship for that company. This time it may be Dave's company, but the next time it might be mine, and that's how insurance began. And that's in the Quakers. Let's say you have 100 houses, let's say 10 houses. Okay, everybody puts in a certain amount every year towards a new barn. And then we know that every 2 years a barn is going to burn down. So they take out of that pot and they have the money, the material and everything, and everybody gets again, they build a new barn, and it doesn't hurt the individual. And that's the process of insurance. And it basically comes from the communal giving and the communal receiving and taking care of one another. But that's gone so far. That's where socialism has been, do I use the word bastardized? So bent, so messed up that our socialistic thinking in America, and not only socialistic, but communistic, the whole idea communistic has come to the point that now it's your duty, not your privilege, your honor, your joy to be able to give to help the poor, the needy, or the community, but it's now your duty.
Okay.
And God never intended that.
Now you've moved from your T-shirt to my T-shirt.
Okay, the state.
Go ahead and read it.
Ideas so good that they have been mandated.
Have to be mandated, yes.
Yeah, have to be
if they're so good, then why do we have to mandate them?
Exactly.
And that's the problem with socialism, is generosity becomes compulsory.
Yeah.
You know, and what does the apostles say in epistles? For God loves a cheerful giver.
Cheerful. Hilarious.
Everybody give as you've determined in your heart is right.
And you know, Dave, even in the last, 20 years, I've discovered the God does not lie. Mm-hmm. When you give, you receive.
Absolutely.
You know who Napoleon Hill was, right? Many, I don't know, some of you I know will have heard of Napoleon Hill. He wrote his probably most famous book is called Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
He was kind of a forerunner of Norman Vincent Peale.
Okay.
Or a contemporary. But so what Napoleon Hill did, he went and he surveyed, he wanted to know, another one's book is called Master Key to Riches. Mm-hmm. And so what he did, he wanted to find out what is it that these wealthiest people, your Henry Fords, your Andrew Carnegie, your DuPonts, your wealthy people all had in common. And he found several things. One is, I know a lot of Christians are going to hate this, but one of them is positive confession. Mm-hmm. When they wrote down what their goals were, and they would repeat what they want every day, and those were their goals. Okay, it's music in the ears of the faith people here, but one of the others is giving. Giving. They're all charitable givers. Now, what's weird is you still have that today. Even George Soros, he gives like crazy. All these people, the Ford Foundation, the DuPont Foundation, all of these, BOK, what's our little Soros here in town? What's his name? Kaiser.
Yeah, George Kaiser.
Little George.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not little compared to us.
I wonder if he'd come in and sit in a podcast sometime.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he would love that. But yeah, I call him Mini George. But you got George Soros, George Kaiser. But it's all the same. Mm-hmm. You got the Kaiser Foundation, right? Yeah. You got Soros. They're giving money everywhere. Mm-hmm. Now, it may not be where we would want to give, but what it is, it's a universal law. God put this. Gravity is a universal law. You step off a cliff, okay? You don't put clothes on and walk into a blizzard wet. You don't get enough rest. You catch a cold. You don't take care of it. You die. There are certain universal laws that you can try to fight them, and to overcome them, there are miracles that you can overcome the natural laws or universal laws. But generally, those natural universal laws are going to get you.
Yeah.
Giving and receiving is one of those, and Jesus talks about it. Give and you shall receive, pressed down, shaken together, running over. And it begins with a tithe. A tenth of everything you have, you start giving a tenth. And I don't care if it's your local church, you give to the poor, you give to whatever. Just, Bill O'Reilly, I remember when he first came on, he had this thing, and he tried to tell people. He did it. And he said, whenever you get a check, you take the first 10%, you give it to charity. The next 10%, you save. And he said, you just do that. You just get into the habit.
It's a long-standing principle.
Yeah.
I've heard it from many financial advisors.
Yeah. And people, do you know who Juan Carlos Ortiz was?
I've heard that name.
Okay, Juan Carlos Ortiz used to have the biggest church in the world in Argentina.
Okay, yeah.
Had 300,000 people, and which was huge until Paul Yoongi Cho came along in Korea. But okay, so Juan Carlos Ortiz, I got to meet. He came to our church in Texas.
Okay.
and he taught. He did a seminar for like a whole weekend, and they had all the pastors up on the podium with him, and he was teaching about the tithe, and he was speaking about how the tithe basically is a law. He said, oh, it predates the Jewish law.
It goes back to Abraham.
Yeah, to Abraham. And so he said, they tithe their mint, their cumin. He said it's the only thing in the law that Jesus he commended the Pharisees for.
He said, yeah, this you should do, but also the weightier.
Right. But he says he commended them. He said, and you do well.
Yeah.
Right. So he commended, and basically the tithe is something that predates the law, and you should do it. Okay. So he went on this whole thing about the tithe, and he said, what we want to do, we want to wait. Okay, Lord, hold on. Let me see what let me take care of all my bills, and then I'll see what I have left. I'll see if I have 10% left.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Right. And, oh, sorry, Lord, I don't have 10% left. I can't. I'll give you what I can. And so he said, try that with the electric car. Try that with PSO or ONG, right? Say, I'm sorry, PSO, I don't have it left. Here, I'll send you $10. And, everybody sitting there starts cracking up, thinking, it's true. He said, do it with God, and God will cut your power. He'll cut your supply off. And so everybody, wow, and all these pastors are, yeah. So, and then he said, okay, when you come back tonight, then I will tell you gentlemen what to do with this 10%. And here's what's funny. This is the funniest part, okay? So everybody comes back that night, and oh my goodness, I mean, it was like they were ready to get rid of him after the night, because he said not one penny of the tithe is supposed to go to the building, to choir robes, to cars, to anything. It's supposed to go 100% to salaries. You're supposed, the tithe is purely for the sustenance of the workers, the ministers. And he said, now, it's not supposed to go to the pastor. It's not supposed to go to the first lady or the princess or whatever some of them call it.
Now you're onto something.
Yeah. It's not supposed to go to the first lady of the church or the princess or the queen or whatever they want to call
the royal family.
Yeah. Whatever they call them these days. I mean, some of these, the
I know it.
Apostle so-and-so or whatever. So he said, what it's supposed to do, it goes to the church. And here's what he said. This is interesting. He said, you find out what executive positions in your town are for a size of a company or corporation. So whatever size your church is, you find out a corporation among that size and the position the person has, and you find out what is the mean income for that, and that's what the income should be.
Okay.
And then that's what the salary should be. So if at this level, this person's making $40,000 a year, that's what you pay, $40,000 a year. You get them insurance, you do the, and he said that every church that he's ever taught that in, they counted that as the day the church exploded. He said that because they started, that's the way where he said, now, he said, but that's the beginning. He said, then comes your free will offerings, your he went all the way down to, and then your sacrifice offerings. He got down to where basically you lived on 10%. You didn't give 10%, you lived on 10%.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I never forgot. It's like it was yesterday. But it was so funny. So I remember talking to my pastor like a day or two before, oh yeah, we're so blessed to have Juan Carlos. He's coming and we're excited, and he was there, And then after I talked to him, he said, well, we just can't accept everything this man said. It was like everything changed. Everything changed because all of a sudden he gave some hard teaching.
Okay.
And sometimes it's hard to put into practice. But I want to say this for me personally, I have not always lived that, and I have suffered from. I've robbed myself. In fact, in Malachi it says, "Will you rob God?" Right? Will you rob God?
I understand that.
And when you don't tithe, you're actually robbing God. And every time I went back to a legalistic, strict tithing, and to the point where it doesn't become legalistic anymore, where it becomes just automatic. Oh yeah, this is what I do. And all of my friends, all the people that I know that just do this, huge givers, they're so blessed. I have a friend, I won't mention any names or anything. Every year he gives to our ministry to Uganda.
Yeah.
First year, he gave $10,000. Next year he gave, the next 2 years, $25,000. And so then this last year, he asked me how things going. Yeah, it's good. We did this, da. In the middle of COVID. Okay, great. Well, okay, it's good. I'll say about getting a check. So, okay. So I didn't know what to expect. It was COVID, and he had been ill and some things. So about a week before Christmas, here's his check. Oh, I open it. $50,000.
There you go.
I'm just, I'm a, what?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, man, now, this guy, when I met him, he grew up. I'm just going to share a little of this man's testimony.
Okay, because I do want to I've got a little bit different take on some of the things you said. So.
All right. This man grew up where he didn't have a bed to sleep in. He slept in the living room on a couch for most of his growing up life. Parents didn't have any money. Dad, hard worker. He was a hard worker. And he came to the Lord. God blessed him with a wonderful wife, wonderful kids. But he now owns 3 different companies that he's over. He's got these beautiful daughters, grandchildren, and they're all doing very well. Guy's become a millionaire. It's just one of these stories, but it's because he latched on to the word of God and what he said. Now, I'm not preaching a prosperity. I'm not trying to preach a prosperity message. I'm trying to preach just a basic message of trust the word of God. Yeah. Basically, I'm not telling you do this, give here, and be a millionaire. He doesn't necessarily give to the evangelist. He doesn't give. He's selective on where he gives. Yeah. I'm not telling you to give here, or here. Just like George Soros, what's his name here in town?
Kaiser.
George Kaiser. The Petersons who run progressive. You've got all these secular millionaires who are big givers, but they may give to Planned Parenthood. They may give to all of these different organizations. There's something, and getting back to the original thought, okay, to bring it back home, okay, Master Key to Riches, Think and Grow Rich, all that stuff. There's something about giving, okay? I believe it is a universal law.
Absolutely.
It's a universal law, and we as Christians are the ones who should lead in this. And it's the reverse of socialism, okay? It's the reverse of socialism, and it's about you giving, not them taking.
Yes.
And that's what socialism does. It turns people into takers versus givers. The takers will never be taught to give. They become more and more and more takers. I had a little boy I was mentoring here in Tulsa, and I remember I brought him a Christmas gift. They lived in a place, poverty, the mother was a welfare mother, et cetera, et cetera. Some people got together and bought him a Christmas gift. I brought it to him. The mother sat there literally and was upset because the gift wasn't good enough. And I'm sitting, I could not believe it. And that lady will never escape poverty.
Right.
With that attitude.
Well, our government lends to that mentality when they don't call it charity. They call it an entitlement. You are entitled to this. And if it doesn't reach your expectations, you're disappointed because you feel entitled.
Did the NFL draft? I watched the NFL draft last night. Mm-hmm. Okay. Last 2 nights, actually. Mm-hmm. And we got, I think it was the second round.
Yeah,
still.
it would be second round now.
Yeah. And so, well, they did actually 3. They did all the way through the third last night. But this guy was still in the second round. Mm-hmm. Okay. Late second round. And they got to him. The guy literally sat there. His family was trying to be excited and he was. Mm-hmm. Got drafted by the New England Patriots, mm-hmm. Okay? New England Patriots.
The most successful franchise in NFL history.
Then we get to the end of the third round, and you see a guy.
Yeah.
And the pair, hugging him, and he's thank you. I mean, just the difference. That's why I like to watch, just to see the reaction.
Yeah.
To see, and we're talking late third round versus a guy who's in the second round. The second round guy, he's mad.
Yeah, because
in the third round, late third round guy is, he's like 110 versus the guy who's like 30 something.
Yeah.
And the 30 something is mad.
Yeah.
And the guy who's 100 something is overjoyed.
Yeah.
I said, what is wrong with this person? Somebody has not raised this person right.
Right. Because remember the previous year. Now, last year we watched towards the end of the season who was the top, most dynamic quarterback. That guy who was the very last person picked in the draft, Purdy.
Purdy, that's true.
From the 49ers.
Yeah.
It's like, it's my dream. If I can just get one of those slots, I'll prove myself for the rest.
Well, and see, what a lot of people don't know is that your rookie contract, if you're like in the not in the top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Your rookie contract is not the contract. It used to be. Sam Bradford, I think, was the last of the old, where you get 60, or maybe it may have been, what's his name, from OU, the other OU, Baker.
Yeah.
I think Baker may have been the last. I think he
was the number one pick.
Right.
Baker was.
Yeah, but I think he still only got 17 million or 20 million or something.
Oh,
only. Well, Sam Bradford got 70 million. I think.
He did.
But anyway, it's a lot different now. They cut it way back because, think about it. An unproven, unknown guy gets 70 million, and you got a guy that's been there 10 years, and he's getting 20 million. So they changed that whole deal. But so now it's your second contract. Like, so Mahomes, for example, gets the, 500 million 10-year. And then now you got Lamar. It's so funny because they're all jockeying for the position, these quarterbacks, they're all waiting. And so what's happened now, Lamar Jackson just got his new contract to where he's on top
of Jalen. Jalen had the biggest. Yeah. But then the same day, Thursday, they announced Lamar Jackson now has the biggest. But Kansas City, they've already said they're going to wait for everybody to get done with theirs. And then Mahomes. They're going to give him a new one. And he just got one last year at $100 million. So now it's insane. It's ridiculous. Before we get too far from your first topic, though. Please bring me home, Dave. Bring me home. I really, you want to show where you differ from me a little bit, in my opinion. Okay. And I was careful to be patient. Yeah, I thank you. I thank you for that. And I want to, first of all, reiterate a lot of things we are 100% agree with. Everything Jesus said about giving, and nobody in the Bible talked about giving more than Jesus. All those things are true. Give and you shall receive. They're absolutely true. What I do want to say has to do with implementing the law and carrying it over to Gentiles. Because there are two things in the law where they went back to Abraham's legacy. It had to do with circumcision and tithing. You look at Abraham, there is one instance where he tithes on the spoils of the war. And he gives it to what was called the priest, Melchizedek. Okay.
Right.
But Moses saw fit, by God's wisdom, to put that principle in the law. And the Apostle Paul said the law is a schoolmaster to us under the new covenant. And we're not under the law, but it's a schoolmaster. It teaches us things. So in all those things, I agree with you. Where I differentiate is when the New Testament leaders got together, the council in Jerusalem. Do we implement a mandate of circumcision on these Gentile believers? And they decided no. Mm-hmm. No, that doesn't apply. That was the covenant God made with the children of Israel.
Sure.
Okay, but so I tell people, if you can convince me that circumcision should be mandated on New Testament Gentiles, then I'll have that discussion with you about implementing tithe as a mandate, not as a schoolmaster, not as a guide. So I agree with everything Jesus says about giving, and I don't put a specific number that everybody has to follow. That's one point. The other thing I want to say, and this wasn't your words, you were repeating this fellow from Argentina about, the whole, you got to give to these people, and then your family goes on what's left. Apostle Paul says, he who doesn't provide for his own, especially those of his household, has denied the faith and is worse than a infidel. Okay. So you got to be careful about being too. I think the Holy Spirit is a great guide for the individual, and I don't put a one-size-fits-all mandate on
it. But see, I think you guys, you're looking in. See, we're not even getting into this boring stuff. We went to theological stuff here.
Yeah.
You guys are, and it's so weird how we never talk before we come in here, and this stuff just pops up. Okay,
yeah.
So here's where I think you're missing what Juan Carlos and I are saying. Okay. No one's saying mandate. Okay. And as far as taking care of your family, that always, but see, we believe that this is taking care of your family.
Okay.
So, for example, there's an easy way to take care of your family, and that is don't extend your budget.
That's true.
So for example, if you're tithing and paying your bills, if you can't tithe and pay your bills, then maybe it's because your bills are exceeding what you should, where they should be. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's I think the biggest problem today. So the credit card bills and so forth.
Yeah.
I believe that when you begin. Let me go back to when I first got out of college. I was horrible. I mean, I wasn't saved for one thing. I got saved a month after college. But so I finally got my first job. My mother was a really, she was a German.
No, God forbid.
And almost Nazi.
Yeah.
Almost officially a Nazi.
Well, Adolf Hitler sent him birthday presents.
Yeah, that's true.
Say?
Yeah. So, National Socialists. Yeah, exactly. That's what they were called. But, so, what would happen, this is crazy. I was 21 years old. And so, but I lived at home. And the day before payday, my mom, I would come home. This is almost embarrassing. I'd come home and my mom would have all my bills laid out and my checks written out to pay the bills before I even got paid. And so everything was written out. And so I would come home with my paycheck, put it in the bank, then I would sign my checks, stick them in the envelope, and mail them.
Yeah.
And then I would figure out, okay, I paid all my bills for the month, and then I knew what I had left.
Yes.
And then from that amount, I lived.
I think your mother's a wonderful woman in that capacity.
Wow, yeah, and it set a tone for me. So then, even when I lived there a year, I finally went off on my own, and I got into the habit of tithing. I started giving to different things, and what I did, so I had a wonderful.
Yeah, but Eddie, I think there's something you got to add. I'm going back to a story you shared with us.
Okay,
and it's kind of painful.
Which one?
About your father's little gambling habit.
Okay.
And how sometimes that paycheck never got home.
Right.
I think your mother knew that was an issue because it was painful for her. It was painful on their marriage.
Right.
Painful for you.
Right.
I think she was teaching you something.
Oh, yeah, but I think it came from I think it's just a natural thing.
Yeah.
From the culture. That's just how Germans.
Yeah.
It was just in her thinking, and so that's why she knew how to do it when my dad went through that. So anyway, but that taught me. So then later, I got married and kind of lost the discipline a little bit. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I'm sure none of us can relate.
Yeah. I won't say who threw me off the discipline.
Yeah.
but anyway.
She might have the locks changed before he gets home.
Yeah, we just hope not everybody watches or listens to the podcast.
Oh, she's an angel. She has to be. She's married to you.
Yeah, she's married. Yeah. So anyway, I kind of got away from the discipline of the doing it that way, and and then of course different this, and then to my discredit, I started making more money and got a little carried away and started buying, $2,000 audios. Remember the audiophile craze that went on like in the early 70s, where you bought a turntable and you had to have a tone arm.
Yeah.
Hi-fi.
You don't know what hi-fi is.
High fidelity. Yeah.
Stereos.
And then you had, you didn't just buy a stereo. There
was a tower.
Yeah.
Receiver. Yeah, turntable.
Well, no, it wasn't that simple. Your turntable, you had to get a tone arm, which is the arm of that goes on, and then you got a cartridge that went to and then finally you got the needle.
Oh yeah.
So everything you paid for this something tone arm, then you got an Audio Technica cartridge, and then you got a something stylus, which is the needle. Yeah. And by the time you bought that's like $500, $600 just to put that. And then, of course, your turntable to make sure, because it had to spin at a certain and then you had a little knob you could twist, and it would finally show you that it's spinning at just the right rotation. And I mean, it just got crazy.
Well, it was who had the tallest stack.
Well, yeah. And then your speakers, you went from speakers to towers. You had the tower speakers and
the equalizer, the amplifier, right? The tuner.
The preamp. You had a preamp, an amp, and a receiver or a receiver. Yeah. It was all, I thought it was over. I had a guy in town bring me to his house, and his system was $12,000.
Yeah.
And then he had a friend come over whose system was $25,000. Yeah. And they talked about their other friend whose system was $75,000. This is for a turntable, speakers, the receiver, not the receiver, what did I say? It's the amplifier, preamp, and everything. I mean, $75,000 for the stereo system. So get the, and he was playing records, right? So my son bought me Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album, right?
Yeah.
And so it was the original album that they still had lyrics and everything. So I go, this guy, I have that, but it was a special copy. And and it was made to be played on it. $75 for the album that my son got for $15.
Yeah.
And I thought 15 was a lot because I paid $3.99 for it back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's 15, but this guy paid $70 for the same. And so I put mine on, he put his on. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. But now it's all replaced. Apple controls all of it, right? Their lion's share iTunes store. And you use your smartphone with just Bluetooth earbuds.
Yeah, but you're not hearing the nuance of the sound.
Depends how good your earbuds are.
Well, but you got to feel it.
Oh, I know. I remember Larry Norman was doing an album review, and the magazine journalist said, "How should a person listen to your album?" And he says, "With the volume all the way up." And then they laughed, and he says, "No, seriously, there are things in the mix you won't hear at low volume. You've got to crank it up to hear it."
Well, no, that is true. In fact, we're way off, but I'll just tell this one last story here.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to wrap up the whole tithing and giving. But anyway, there's this friend back when I had Salt Inc., the music label. We had this artist, Sam Baker, and we had this. We remastered a song he had done before, and "No Love Lost" is a wonderful song. In fact, I should play it sometime. It's a great song. But anyway, so when I got a hold of the master copy they had before, there was, I don't know what it is. I pick up stuff, and there was a pop in there, just a little. And so, the producer, he gets in there, and they're done with the album, and they're playing this one song.
It's already mastered.
And we're going in. No, it's not mastered yet. We're in the mastering lab.
Oh, okay.
And I said, "Oh, you got to get rid of that pop." I said, "What pop?" I said, "That pop. There's a pop in there." No pop. Yeah, there's a pop. And they kept playing. There's a pop. And so what they do in the mastering lab, they put everything on a graph. It comes up into the graphs, and he blows it up. We're talking producers, Nashville. This is in Nashville in the mastering lab. The mastering technician, the producer of that, this is their life. They could not hear this thing.
Wow.
And I'm saying, no, if you don't get rid of this, I will end up committing suicide because I will never be able to not hear this pop.
Yeah. You
got to get rid of that. So they finally blow this thing up, and the guy looks and he says, "Oh, what is that?" And so he goes through and very loud, and all of a sudden, boom, this thing, boom.
Yeah.
Whoa, what is that? And then sure enough, there was the pop. Once they blew it up to that and turned it, and they're, boom, and so doing their magic, they pulled, it was in the chorus, so they pulled the chorus from, which was fortunate that they could just pull the chorus, the second chorus.
They overdubbed is the term, right?
They just pulled the chorus from the second to the first, and then they just pulled that out and replaced it and everything. And I'm able to hear the song, and it sounds perfect. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff. But I've always had this gift of hearing the nuanced sounds in these things. And
gift, or is it torture?
Gift or curse, right? Yeah. So, but now I'm probably one reason I may be losing some of my hearing in one of my ears too, because I'm so used to always listening to loud.
Yeah. But
anyway, back to the original thing, Dave. As far as the tithing and giving, no. Okay, there was the law. Now there's no law, and so no, it's your choice. It's your choice.
That's my point.
I'm just saying God gave this as a blessing to us. You can do it or you don't have to. I say do it. And I've learned and I've seen the people who have done it and it works. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And you're not going to go to hell for not tithing.
Yeah.
It's not one of the things that's going to keep you out of heaven. But if you want to, I believe, attain success, and especially if you're young, it would behoove you to, I think, listen to some of this wisdom about giving and doing that. And as Juan Carlos said, just start with the tithe. And then go from there. And then as God blesses you, if you want to give more and feel free and led, God may lead you to become a sacrificial giver. There are people who do give sacrificially.
My point is, my giving does fluctuate. Yeah. And I think the Holy Spirit-led life is going to lead to that. You go through seasons where God uses you in different ways. And, in different things. And then, as one of my friends says, everything I have belongs to God. I mean, as God directs me or at least that's my goal in everything, I should be obedient to God. And that, to me, he says, to me, that is all surrendering it all to God, even if it's a new pair of shoes for my kids.
I've heard that a lot. I hear a lot, but I think a lot of times people who say that tend to turn it around and says everything that's God is mine.
Well, it's a good point. Yeah. I'm just saying, let the Holy Spirit lead and guide on this, and I don't think the Holy Spirit will lead you wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, wait, Dave, wait. I can't let you go that way. See,
no. I thought I
no, you were not going to put that.
No last word,
because you could say the same thing about everything. You could say the same thing about sexual things or this or that. That let the Holy Spirit lead you. I mean, and you'd be right.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that God has put. As I said, there's certain universal laws.
Absolutely.
Okay, and you can't just leave it. Well,
no.
Let the Spirit lead you.
No,
okay?
Giving and sowing and reaping, giving.
You're
receiving.
Afraid to stay. You don't want to broach. I think what your problem is, and probably
I have a problem.
Well,
and he says so.
With this issue, I think is the word tithe, the strict term tithe. I think you don't want to get hung up on that 1/10.
As a static number.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. So that's what I write. And I think that's the problem. And
I don't think it's a problem.
Well, no, I think it's a problem with this discussion we're having.
Okay.
See, I don't see it as a problem. I see it as a baseline.
Okay.
I believe truly that is a beginning. And I believe now, okay, Jesus did say about the widow's mite. But see, to the widow, the 10th, her tithe or her gift that she brought, the widow's mite, was more than a 10th because she didn't even have whatever. Okay, so she started already above the tithe, and I believe that Jesus, well, because he was dealing with Jews, essentially.
Okay.
No, because he was dealing with Jews, they automatically knew and were giving a 10th. See, to
that was the law.
To the Jewish mind, it's a no biggie. It's like to us, women wearing tops was no big. It's a base, right?
Right.
You go to the Amazon or some of these jungle people. That's not a thing. Okay, because they've never worn clothes.
To them, it's really a hassle.
Right. So to us, to explain to somebody, women, when you put your top on in the morning,
Yeah, I know.
You see what I'm saying? It's like when you tithe, It's not if you tithe, it's when you tithe. So that's how I'm saying. So it was like a baseline. And I don't think he didn't. I mean, basically, if you look at it, he never eradicated the tithe. He basically just said, when you tithe, and this, you should do it this way. Don't do it like these people did it. Do it this way. He was just trying to get the whole mentality of the tithe to be more like, I think, what you're saying. And what I'm trying to say, don't look at the tithe as that darn tithe. I got to give that 10% again.
Gotcha.
I look forward to being able, or if you don't have it, Lord, could you please help me get to the point where I'm able to give this, Anyway, I think we burned that.
And one last thing, you were talking about the whole thing about giving. You were talking more secular sense, the Kaisers of the world and stuff. Right. Somebody said, those who take eat well, those who give sleep well. I think there's a principle of sense of satisfaction in that you are contributing to humanity, just on a clearly secular level, when you give. You're living beyond just yourself. It's dying to self to bless others. I think it's a universal principle. I think it's important.
All right. So I'm going to switch themes a little bit, not totally.
Okay.
Bobby Kennedy Jr.
On with the show. This is it. We're getting into the show today.
Yes.
Yes.
Now
we're to the notes.
Yeah. Maybe I should hit our.
Leave the lie, so everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is. This is who I am. This is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to grow. I'm not the one with two short hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes.